I have a little story for you about something that's been going on. And it kind of like reminded me to, make sure people know that in their times of need, their loved ones that have crossed over are with them. So here's the story. My elderly female dog, Naomi, was diagnosed with lymphoma at the end of July, and she was given a couple of months to live. She's still kicking, she's still around, but slowly declining. And I've had a visitor, a deceased loved one from the other side, that's been hanging around for a couple of months. My pal Rocky passed away in I think 2021 or 2020, and her and I met and bonded over, we were both rescuers. We're both rescue animals, and she had a whole bunch of dogs on her farm and animals, and that was her thing. Rocky was a rescuer of animals, so she loved it. And I met her through trying to raise funds for my other dog, Noah, who's had cancer a couple times, and I was doing odds and ends jobs, and she needed me to help her with her animals. So I met her and we bonded over that, and I love that woman. That woman was one of the greatest people I've ever known. And she unfortunately took her life a couple years ago. And she loved Naomi. She loved Noah. Those were her pals. And right before Naomi was diagnosed, there's been a couple things going on in the house, like lights flickering. We're seeing kind of shadows and figures out of the corner of her eyes. And I'm like, I know that's Rocky, so something's going on. And she was diagnosed. And then Naomi was diagnosed. And I'm like, okay, that's why Rocky is here. And I knew that, but I didn't want to admit it because it's an emotional situation for me. And so she's been hanging around a couple months, comforting me, telling me that when Naomi's ready, that she will be the one to take her to the other side. And she will be the one to guide her through the afterlife. And so she's been physically manifesting herself. There was one day I physically saw her with my eye, and I'm kind of like, okay, that's new. They don't normally manifest to me that way. I normally see them in my mind's eye and communicate them, and my wife has seen her, and I'm like, that's new. And then I'm like, okay, there's a reason why she's manifesting. And all of a sudden, when we're not ready or even thinking about it, we rescue a pregnant pit bull from the reservation. She was shot. She was pregnant. She was out there dumped or whatever. And so we rescue her. And this dog is like the perfect dog for us. She is sweet. She's had no behavioral issues, no accidents in the house. Very loving and cuddling. She does not resource guard. She gets along great with all our other dogs and cuddles with Noah and Naomi. And my Chihuahua's a fucking asshole, but they still try to get along anyway. And it's like the perfect situation. And Rocky appeared to me the other day and said, this is part of the process. I brought her to you. And I'm like, I kind of figured that because it's given Naomi some purpose and pep in her step, because she's always been a mama dog without babies. And she's been appearing more. I think that's for two reasons. One, the puppies are about to be born, and Naomi's getting a little bit closer. And then I was thinking about last night, I'm like, and she's comforting me too as well. So I'm like, that's even in people need to be reminded that even in their time of need, and they don't feel like anybody's around, or they don't feel like they have anyone watching over them or to talk to, everybody that you have loved that has passed over is there. And sometimes it's hard to get out of our own ego and our own fear and our own grief to really see and notice the signs. But I think that's an important lesson for people to do. See past your own grief and know the signs to help you feel comforted, because they are there and they will make themselves known. And I had a feeling Rocky was around, but I was a little bit too stuck in my own grief to actually see her. And one day I turn around and I see her clear as day. And then my wife sees her clear as day, too. And we're both like, hi. And then she just laughs and walks away. Turns around, goes out the door, and we're like, well, okay, that's my life. But yeah. So, I've made a couple of videos and reels, and you can see Naomi and Wednesday. But yeah, this is something to experience.